Stop. Stop. What's up, bougie babes, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about why I quit my job. I'm currently jobless at the moment. And it's a fun little cute little story. So while I'm telling you all this, I'm going to be getting ready for the day. So first things first, if you don't know already, I was a teacher for toddlers. Jess, can you stop? Fucking crackhead, stop. No, I was a teacher for 2-year-olds, okay? And I'm not gonna say where I used to work or, you know, who my manager was, who my coworkers were. I'm gonna change all their names for this video because I do not want to call anyone out. Yes, I've had some bad experiences, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to be that petty. Like, no, chill. I was working with kids for about, let me see, maybe 3.5. And it wasn't my like choice of career. I just had to do what I had to do to make money at the time. So whenever I first started, I was working with all types of ages. It went from like, I believe babies, so newborns, to around the age of 3 or 4, if I am correct. At first, I loved every second of it. I don't dislike kids. I never have disliked kids. I just never thought myself as the motherly type. Like, yes, I'm very sweet and kind to them, but I don't see, that's like not where I see myself, I guess. I started this job and at first I loved it. It was really fun to see them explore and to learn and to love learning at first. So I remember I would always go home and tell my mom, like, oh my gosh, this little girl, she did this today, it was so cute, yada yada yada. Like, at first I really enjoyed it. It's not like I was just hating it the whole time, but then it all took a switch around year 2 because I quickly learned that childcare has a lot of deep secretive things that we do not talk about to the parents. Certain situations that I've had to cover up, certain situations that I've had to lie about for the sake of not only my own job, but the protection of my coworkers. And like, it's just really messy. I don't want to come off like I'm trying to expose what really goes on in childcare, but at the same time, this is just my experience. I'm going to speak on my experience. Someone else could be a teacher right now watching this and you might have the greatest time of your life. That's great. Love that for you. But for me, my experience was far from perfect, and it was definitely a lot of questionable moments where I was like, In regards to why I left the first situation to go to another, like a different childcare facility, was mainly because of this one parent. We're just gonna call her Stacy. Stacy, whenever she first got her child enrolled, I didn't think too much about her. She seemed like a normal parent. She didn't really go out of her way to like talk to me or get to know me like some of the other parents did, but I didn't take offense to that because at the end of the day, she had to go to work and I was there to do my job, so it really did not matter. Everything was fine with that situation. Nothing was out of sorts until one day. This was around the time of allergy season, okay? When allergy season hits, all of the kids will have runny noses, they will cough, they will sneeze. Like, it's a normal thing. We're very aware of allergy season because we even feel allergies. But this one kid, which was Stacy's kid, he had horrible allergies, okay? So his nose would run all the time. And we would wipe it very frequently, but sometimes we just can't always catch it when there's a room full of children. It's a part of our job to check their diapers, make sure that they're good before they get picked up. But sometimes we do those things, right? But then the parent is late and we're doing our closing duties. So when the parent comes, sometimes the child might have just peed on themselves or might have just pooped on themselves. You know, things happen sometimes and the child might be sent home in that way. The child did not have a dirty diaper at all, but his nose, I guess it was running. I don't think I was there for that closing shift because usually if a parent is running late and I'm sitting there with that kid, if it's just me and the kid, like, I can see the nose and I wipe it, whatever. But I don't really know what the situation was in the other circumstance. So needless to say, she picked up her kid and the kid had a runny nose, right? A few days go by, our boss walks in and says, hey, like, just want to update y'all that a parent has come forward and they, you know, have been complaining about such and such and this and that, and they showed us this. And my boss holds up the phone and it's a picture of the little kid This is so hard. Try not to give out like any specific details out of respect. The parent took this picture in front of where we work. So the parent didn't even leave and do this. Like, I guess they picked up the child and noticed the runny nose, walked down the driveway, took the picture like in front of the place and sent it over to the boss, and pretty much was saying that she was upset that his nose was running and that she's noticed that it's been like this for a couple of days, like every time during pickup. Which in my brain in that moment, I'm like, what? Because the nights that I would close or the evenings that I would close, I do not remember this child having a runny nose. But you know, things happen. So at first I wasn't really thinking too much about it when my boss was bringing it up. But then the more she's describing the situation, the more it's like not sitting right with me. Because I'm like, I can't tell you how many times parents, they'll knock on the door and I'll be like, hey, your child has pee or they just pooped. Give me 1 second. I'm going to change them. They will literally dead ass look you in your face and say, oh, no, it's fine. It's fine. It's okay. I'm going to change them in the car, or we're right down the street, or don't even worry about it. The next day, it's a problem. It's been reported. That's the shit I don't like, because it's making me come off like as negligent towards your specific child, when in reality, I offered that for you, or I noticed like, hey, your child does have poop. I smell it. I'm going to handle this before you take them home. And you refuse me to do that. And you make it feel like the situation's good, but in reality, it's not. It's really petty to me, and I think it's really unnecessary. My boss gets done explaining the situation and says, well, what do y'all think needs to be done to prevent this from happening? And really, there's nothing else we can do to prevent it, because all we can do is just wipe it when it's running. But sometimes things happen, and it's really chaotic with 13, 14, 15 kids. And you're the only one teacher closing for that, that shift. Things are going to slip sometimes. So it was just really, really frustrating. And I hope I don't sound like super rude by saying this to any of the mothers out there or any parents out there. I'm not coming for you. We already go through so much as educators, early educators at that, with like babies and toddlers. It's already such a difficult job. So if you, or if a parent, whatever, ever has an issue, my main thing was, please come to me about it. Like, obviously you're free to go to the boss if you feel like you want to take it up with them. That's not a problem. It's just with the tiniest stuff, it does come off like you're trying to find something, you know what I mean? But if you were to ask me, I could definitely explain to you what the situation is. Like, I'll never be mad if a parent asks me like, hey, I just noticed this and that. If anything, that's my chance to explain, or to even say I'm sorry for that. But they wouldn't even give you the chance for that. And it was so weird. I never understood it. Another story I have from that other situation before I move into the reason why I quit this recent job. There is this one parent, okay? We're gonna change her name to Angie. Angie had the cutest baby. She was so cute. I'm not gonna describe her, but she was so cute. Angie would always kind of like try to find reasons to be upset at us. And by us, I mean me and my coworkers. But me and my coworkers would always be like, you know what, let's not pay it any mind, because she wants us to feed into that. And she would always try to make problems about the kid. And she'd always ask questions about the kid. Like, she always thought her kid was not developing as fast. And I know that that's a common theme in parents. Like, they want to make sure that their children are on track. I understand that. It can be scary, because in some cases, maybe your kid isn't on track. But at the end of the day, we're never judging your kid. If anything, that means more one-on-one time with your child. And that means more paying attention to that child, seeing what their needs are. You know what I mean? Like, it's never a situation where we're like, oh, your child is dumb. Like, no. At the end of the day, they're like little human beings. They're learning, they're trying. Who am I to sit there and judge them because they can't freaking say apple? I can barely spell apple. Like, one day Angie drops her daughter off, right? And Angie's daughter was, at least within our space, was known to get lots of diaper rashes, which some kids are more prone to them, and it's a normal thing for them. But for other kids, it's really not a normal thing, and it's more of like you need to go to the doctor. But for Angie's kid, this was a normal thing, especially to us, because we had her all day long, every single day of the week. So we noticed that it's just something that that Angie's daughter deals with. Okay, this particular day, Angie drops her daughter off. I checked Angie's daughter's diaper, and she had pee. We're gonna call Angie's daughter Clarissa. As I'm changing Clarissa's diaper, I notice she has a very, very bad looking diaper rash. Immediately, I put some diaper cream on it, or diaper rash cream, whatever you want to fucking call it, I don't know. But I put some cream on it, and I make sure to let Angie know that I saw the rash and I applied cream. Whether Angie knew it was there or not, I wanted her to know that I noticed she has a rash and I applied cream. So I'm thinking that that's the end of that situation, because all I'm obligated to do is just to inform you that I noticed it and I'm doing something about it, right? After that, I'll just keep reapplying all day, like the cream, and you know, that's your problem. When you go home, when you pick her up, that's your problem at that point. Next day, the rash looks horrible. Like, it looks 10 times worse. I'm a little concerned because I'm like, I told you that she had a rash, and like now it looks even worse. So that means mainly one thing, like you didn't apply it at home. And the only reason why I'm kind of making a big deal about it is because I don't want to be accused of not doing my job here, you know? But in the messages, she didn't reply. But when she came to pick her up, she was like, I noticed that Clarissa, her rash is not going away. Can you make sure that you are applying cream? And I'm like, Angie, baby girl, I've been applying the cream. After that situation, I made sure to let my coworkers know, like, hey, Angie is kind of coming for us. She thinks that we're not applying this cream, so please, please, please make sure, like, if I'm on break or if I'm gone, like, apply that cream, just so they know. The weekend passes and it's Monday. I'm opening. I greet her at the door. She doesn't say a word to me, okay? She just drops her daughter off. I'm like, whatever. I change her diaper. And would you believe it? It was so bad. It was like worse than day 2 bad. It was bad. And if you've never seen a diaper rash, I hope you never do. It looked terrible. So I messaged mom and I let her know, like, hey, the diaper rash looks worse than before. I'm going to apply cream, like, all day. I'm gonna be applying it all day, just letting you know, like, I notice it. She goes off. She contacts my boss, and she's pretty much very upset and accusing me and the coworkers that we are not changing her diapers frequently and we are not applying the cream, because why is her diaper rash still here? This diaper rash should have been gone. Like, it's going on week 2 and it's still here. It's not even like easing up. It's getting worse. So I'm like, oh my God, like, girl, you need to take Clarissa to the fucking hospital and go get her checked out. Not hospital, but, you know, fucking pediatric, I don't know, wherever children go. And make sure it's nothing serious. And by serious, I mean either a yeast infection or some type of maybe reaction she's having to something. Like, hey, just so you know, like, at this point, if it's not going away, you should probably go see somebody about this. And she did not like that I said that. Maybe because I was coming off like I knew her daughter more. But let's be real. Let's just keep it 100 for a second. Let's say I have your kid from 6 o'clock in the morning, okay, to 6 o'clock at night. All right? That's a lot of hours. When you pick them up at 6 o'clock at night and take them home, the only thing that you're concerned about is getting them fed, putting them to bed. All right? Then you wake up and you repeat the same thing, dropping them off at 6, picking them up at 6, okay? But on the weekends, you have them, you know, from Saturday and Sunday. Sometimes not even then, because you might want to go out, right? So you might send them off to grandma's and grandpa's, or might send them off with Big Daddy. But on Monday, they're back at 6 to 6. That's a lot of time for you to get to know your child, man. Okay? Do the math. Like, I don't know why they want to play me like I don't know your baby. Like, I know your baby. At the end of the day, mommy will always know best, for the most part, because there are some negligent ass mothers out here. But this mommy, I could tell she really loved and cared about her little Clarissa. So my boss was like, hey, change Clarissa more often. I was like,
gee, I didn't think of that. Let me do that.
I'm upset because I feel like I'm doing all that I really can do for Clarissa, you know, but this mom is neglecting to realize that. So she took Clarissa to the doctors, and then she didn't even want to admit it to me. That's the funny thing. She told the boss instead of telling me at the front door whenever she dropped her off. She told my boss. I took Clarissa to the doctor. The doctor said that it's not an ordinary diaper rash. It is a yeast infection. like I freaking told her in the beginning. I guess Angie just could not own up to the fact that she was wrong in the situation. She did not want to tell me I was right by letting me know that information. So I had to find out from my boss. And the doctor ended up giving Angie some special ointment for Clarissa. And like that, it healed. But it all could have been resolved had you not been mad at me from the beginning for whatever fucking reason. Like, I'm not out to get your daughter. That really pissed me off. And I was like, ugh, y'all are petty. Let me do my bang real quick and I'll be back. I eventually had enough of that first situation. So I decided to go elsewhere, but I still stayed in childcare. I ended up picking up another job at a different facility, which I will not name, but this is a very well-known facility. I was excited again. But, you know, because karma is a bitch, as soon as I got hired on, one of the main important ladies in the classroom directly next to mine decided she's had enough and she decided to quit. Now, you're probably thinking, what does that have to do with you? It had everything to do with me because guess what? I was a twos teacher, 2-year-olds. She was a twos teacher. And if another twos teacher ain't there to watch those twos, who else is qualified to watch those twos? You catching my drift? Me. I had to watch all those goddamn children by my goddamn self. I was back in a fucking stressful situation. And I remember I was like telling myself, don't quit, don't quit, don't quit. You're strong, you'll make it through, it'll pay off. Which in some cases it kind of did, but not really. It was just really stressful and I was fucking mad because I worked so hard to get out of the other situation for reasons that I stepped into the other one and I'm dealing with the same shit. Like, it was just like, really? Like, I can't catch a fucking break. And I started to realize, it's starting to really be boss to the wall over here. And when I say that, I mean like, it was not organized. I can't tell you how many days I would come in. I wouldn't know who's gonna be in my class, how many I'm going to have, like what the schedule's gonna be like. It was just, They told me that this kid was only gonna be in my class for 2 weeks. It was a temporary kid, okay? They told me that the mother of this child is someone that works in the same brand of facility that I do. I have to word that very special. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I don't know why they're telling me that, but whatever. And they said that they had experience with this kid before, and just to warn me that this kid may or may not have undiagnosed autism. I am not qualified. I'm just not qualified to handle someone with undiagnosed autism, especially a child. At a child that age, 2 years old, they're already dealing with so many emotions. Now you're gonna add undiagnosed autism? If you don't know what autism looks like on a child, then you need to go, educate yourself. It's a lot. It can be a lot. And I didn't want to hinder that child's growth by not being able to give that child what they needed from me as their teacher. And that's on some real shit. And it didn't help because, mommy and daddy, I'm not gonna say they didn't want to accept, but they were just in the hopes that it was not that. Like I said, it was not diagnosed. Maybe he was just on the spectrum of autism. Spectrum is very wide. It can be like straight up hardcore autism. I don't know the scientific words for whatever. Or it can be really, really light autism. I'll just say light and heavy, okay? This child could have been anywhere on that spectrum. And really, they don't want to test children for that until they become a certain age, because when they're really, really young, it could just be like this. It could be anything. I'll word it like that. It could be anything. I knew it was going to be a fucking struggle. So I buckled myself up. The first day of having this kid, it was not bad at all. It was like he was very quiet. If anything, he was overwhelmed by, everything that we were doing. Because my kids they can be very dramatic. They can be very loud, You know how children are in general. But my kids are crackheads. So I was like, I'm not going to overwhelm him by trying to make everyone do a circle time while he's here. So for 2 weeks, I decided we're just going to do really fun sensory activities. So the first day was good. He mainly stayed in the corner and he didn't really socialize as much, which is normal for kids on their first day. It's very overwhelming with all those fucking brats in there. So I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna pressure him to join us. Like, I'm just gonna let him do his thing. By everything that you're hearing from out of my mouth, I wanted to make sure this child felt extra comfortable. I cared about this kid in a sense. Even though he was very new and I only had him for 1 day, I can form emotional attachments with my children like that if like the vibe is there with that child, right? So I knew like me and this child, it's gonna take some time, but I feel like I'm gonna end up forming a good relationship with this kid. And he was really cute too, to me at the time. Day two, shit hit the fucking fan. No. Day two, we go outside, and like I said, it's getting close to summer. Mosquitoes are coming out because they want to fucking suck up our blood. So I get all the bug spray I can fucking find in the building, and I spray the kids and I spray me because I get bit up by mosquitoes. They love my blood. And to help even more, I decided I'm not going to keep my kids out for too long because I don't want them to get bit up really bad. The one that has undiagnosed autism, he got bit up bad on his arm. It was like doo, doo, doo. Like 3, but they swelled up on him, which my mosquito bites do that to my skin too. It's not just like a little itchy spot, it's like it swells. I made sure to let dad know at pickup, letting you know, little Timmy Turner over here got bit by some mosquito. I made sure to like clean the area. All I could do was really clean it. That way it would be a little less irritating. But if you're wondering what those are mosquito bites. He looked me dead ass in my face and said, okay, thank you. And he walked off. That was a Friday. I come back to work on a Monday. I come in, I kid you not, I'm walking down the hall to my class. I feel eyes on me. I'm like, what's going on? I get to my class and I tell my coworker, who's also my friend, like, hey, are people looking at you funny? And she was like, no, what do you mean? I'm like, I just feel like I'm being watched. Like as soon as I walked in, the energy shift was different. And I'm good at reading energy. So I was like, something does not feel right. She was like, no, maybe you're just in your head about it. And for a second I was like, well, maybe I am. Let me chill the fuck out. So I decided to let it go. We go outside. And one of the extra bosses, I don't know, like there's a boss and there's like a side hoe. He's like a side boss. I don't know, but whatever. He comes and he's like, Heaven, can I talk to you for a second? I'm like, I knew something was up. So he tells me, are these bruises? Did someone hurt him? And of course, I'm like, what are you talking about, bruises? I was like, no, nothing happened to him. Like he was pretty much playing by himself the whole 2 days that he was there last week. And he was like, I don't know. Like his mom sent us pictures over the weekend. I'm like, what? And then he says, well, just make sure you contact the mom and you have a report ready. Head up. It has to be an injury and illness report, which is the very serious packet report where we have to fill out and call the parents. If it's below, then it's just a normal ouch report. I go inside, I immediately message her on the app and I'm like, hi, just so you know, I got word back that you think that the bruises on his arm are bruises. And I just want you to let you know that I told dad that these were mosquito bites. The swelling must have went down and they must have formed like bruise patches. I don't fucking know. Sometimes on white people that does happen. I've seen it before, so I'm assuming that that's what happened because no one touched him. I made sure like no one was aggressive towards him, no one bit him, no one pushed him, none of that. She immediately hit me with the,
well, I'm a director at this such and such facility. I know what should have been done. You should have had an injury and illness report ready for me to sign.
Like she was very aggressive towards me. Whenever I read the vibe that she was like not gonna be nice about this at all, I immediately decided to go the high road and I told her, I'm so sorry that it comes off as though these are bruises. Next time this will never happen. I will have that report ready for you. And I told her during pickup today, whether it's you or dad, I will have that form ready for y'all to sign. And you know, I pretty much apologized. Even though I didn't do anything wrong, I apologized because at the end of the day, parents are always right, customers always right? So I fucking let it go. But she hit me back with another response and she said that she was going to take the issue to licensing but decided to be nice and go to my boss instead. Licensing, which can get me fired and potentially locked up because she's insinuating that I hurt her kid. That's like the higher ups above my boss. Meaning, at that point, she was going to report me. She was pretty much saying that I caused this. Like, I hurt him. What in the actual fuck? Like, you don't even know me, bitch. And I feel so good to actually say what I want to say because it took me a very long time holding my fucking tongue while I was there. Holding my tongue when I was telling this story to other people too. But you don't know me. I don't know you. We have not formed that relationship. And I understand. At the end of the day, I'm a stranger to you. I'm a stranger watching your kid. But look at all my other fucking kids. Why in the universe would I hurt your kid? Especially because they referred you to me. They knew that I was a good teacher. They gave you to me. You know what I mean? And there's cameras in my class. If you really felt I was doing some shady shit, All I had to do was talk to my boss. They would have showed you the cameras. I don't do shit, bitch. I don't do shit. And whenever I do touch them, if I'm not changing their diaper, like having to pick them up and shit, I'm giving them hugs. I'm cuddling them. Those are my babies. Like, I love my babies. I haven't even formed a relationship with your son, so I wasn't touching him in any way because I don't know him like that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna force a kid to hug me. They get terrified over that shit. In that moment, I remember I was starting to shake because when I get really mad, I start to shake, and I was like, I have two choices. I can defend myself in the most politest way that I can fucking word it, or I can just leave her unread. But me being a Leo, I decided to do the opposite. I remember I replied back, my children are like my children and I love my children. Oh, I even told her that the only times that I ever physically touch him in any way is whenever I have to pick him up to change his diaper. Other than that, he was playing on his own, living his most peaceful life. Like I would never do something like that. That's pretty much what I said. I would never do something like that. And she said, well, I'm not accusing you of anything, but if you ever have to move him or if you ever have to get him out of a situation, please be gentle. So she's pretty much made it up in her mind that I did this. So I'm like, bitch. What? Like, I don't know. I'm still kind of dumbfounded about it because I'm like, how? How did we go from mosquito bites to you hurt my son? Like, that's a really big ass jump to me. So at that point, I remember I left her in red and she messaged me again. She was trying to provoke me. She was trying to fucking poke the bear. I don't remember what that last message was because I remember at that point I blacked out. Like, I went in almost like a very calm rage state because I've never been in a situation where I've been accused of something like that. Like, I've been in a similar situation where a parent tried to pull some shit like that on me, but then they quickly changed their story because anyone who really knows me, especially as a person, and all my other parents that really took the time to get to know me, know that I would never do something like that. Like, I genuinely try to form relationships with your kids. That way it makes my job easier and it makes their time with me more fun. Like, I would never do that. So I thought that was the end of the situation. I tried to leave it alone. I tried to not talk to her back. She kept messaging me. I decided, don't say anything back to this bitch because you already know she's going to keep trying to get you to say something. She's going to try to use something. But before I could even fucking tell my manager, I got a call on my phone in my classroom. Ring, 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 ring. In the middle of nap time, by the way. I'm like, ugh. My boss says you need to come to my office now. I'm feeling all those emotions again right now. So I think I'm starting to get a little pissed off. Sorry. An aide came in and I had the opportunity to go to his office. I got my game face on. I was like, don't cry, bitch, don't cry. So I get in his office. He tells me to close the door. He's on the phone, okay? And whoever's on the phone, all I hear is like kind of like yelling a little bit. I don't know who he's talking to, so I didn't assume anything. But then he said out loud, like in front of me, I'm gonna talk to her, don't worry. Yes, like, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, fuck. Like, she called him before I could even get to him. And I guess I don't know why she's mad because she's the one that's accusing me, and I didn't say anything bad to her. I didn't cuss. I didn't type anything horrible at all. All I said was I love my kids like they're my own. That's all I said. He hangs up the phone and he's like, I'm assuming you know what you're in here for. And I'm like, well, yeah. And I didn't even know that he could read my messages like on the tablet. So, I mean, good thing I didn't cross the line and say anything horrible, but apparently he can read my messages that I send out. And he was saying that I read the messages between you two and I just want to have a discussion with you about, you know, etiquette and shit. And I was like, what? He ended up going on this long spiel about like his point of view of things. He was pretty much describing how he's been in similar situations. Like, I understand you're trying to sympathize, not sympathize, but like relate to me right now. But these are two different situations. Like, his situation was a lot more calm. My situation, this bitch was aggressive towards me, like verbally aggressive towards me. Keep in mind, you don't have to be quiet for a second. Keep in mind, she was a Caucasian woman, okay? She was white. Now, this plays into other factors now. I'm not trying to be that person, but I'm sorry. A lot of white bitches out here have tried me with their kids because I'm black. I'm going to be honest. I've worked in a lot of places where I'm with primarily white people. I know what it feels like. If you're black, you know what I'm fucking talking about. You get telekinesis and you know when they feel some type of way about you because you are black. So it was already that going on, but now, you know, it's just a different situation. He was like, she contacted me and she does not like the way that you came at her, you know, via text message. I was like, what? All I told this lady was, I'm sorry that I did not have that paperwork for you, even though there was no need for the fucking paperwork, and it won't ever happen again. I'll have those papers ready for you. That's all I said. So I'm like, what? Like, it makes no sense. And then he was pretty much like, well, I just want you to know, if a situation like this happens again, come to me directly. Do not respond to them. And I'm like, I wanted to defend myself. I have every right to defend myself. And he was saying, I understand you feel that way, but it comes off aggressive. I'm like, how do I come off aggressive when she's literally accusing me in the messages? She's the one that's aggressive. She's the one that threatened my job. Like, how am I the aggressive one? He pretty much said from this point on, if I have anything to say to her, that I need to come to him to say it through him. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, this makes no sense. And I thought that this was the end of it. After that conversation that I had with him, that really showed me that I'm completely alone in this situation, that no one is going to stand up for me. Knowing who I am, they knew who I was as a worker, as a person, and they did not defend me. In front of her face, they took up for what she was talking about, but in front of me, they would say, oh, we're on your side. Like, no, fuck that, because if you're on my side, you'll tell this bitch, I'm sorry, but like, no, we're not going to do that. You know what I mean? The customer is not always right, and that's what enrages me. It doesn't matter if you're the worker or if you're the customer or whatever you want to fucking call it. Right is right and wrong is wrong, and there is a time to defend what is right, and there's a time to just let wrong be wrong, if you know what I mean. In this case, she really could have went to the police. She could have did anything, and I would have been 100% vulnerable in that situation, because no one wanted to stand up to this bitch just because she's a director at the same type of facility that we are at. You know what I mean? Like, fuck that. There's so much more that happens behind the scenes that I'm gonna get into part 2. That situation's not even over. It's not even over. It gets fucking worse, because the bitch tries me in my own classroom when no one is around, and I'm gonna go into that. So stay tuned for part 2, because I'm fucking exhausted and I need to eat because I'm hungry, I'm shaking, and these spaghettis are not holding me. Thank you so much for tuning in for another video. I hope you enjoyed this juicy ass tea-filled story time that's not even done. Stay tuned for part 2. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe so you can be part of the bougie babes. Know what I'm saying? Know what I'm saying? Meow, 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 meow. Meow.